U.S. politics. Our Chase team has reached Aaron Blake in Washington. He is senior political reporter at the Washington Post. Always great to talk to you, Aaron. I want to bend your ear with this one, okay? You ready? Yep. Back way before your time, back in the 1930s, there was a song called What a Difference a Day Makes. And then Dinah Washington did this fantastic version in the 1950s. But here's the first verse. What a difference a day makes, 24 little hours, brought the sun and the flowers where there used to be rain. Could we rename that song Joe Biden?
Something like that. It may have to be renamed What a Difference 3 Days Makes, because
96 little hours.
Right, exactly. You know, this really began on Saturday in the South Carolina primary. Joe Biden got a key endorsement late in the race from the highest ranking black member of Congress, who's from South Carolina. It spurred him to a bigger than expected win in that primary. And really what we saw on Super Tuesday was that momentum carried him, especially throughout other southern states that gave him big margins early in the night, gave him a big delegate lead, allowed him to win a big state of Texas, which was really key late at night. And then really that allowed him to inoculate himself against some of Sanders's wins further in the West. So Biden is now the delegate leader in this race. He is going to be that regardless of some of these slow results in California. And we really have a brand new race that not many people would have predicted about a week ago.
Heard anything about Maine? Our control room is telling me there, Sanders and Biden are 1 percentage point difference, but it keeps moving. That's such a tight race there.
Yeah, and it's a very slow count. Some states are like that. California is like that, certainly. We don't know how that's going to turn out, but if Joe Biden can win that state, this is a key point here. And I think one of the big takeaways from Super Tuesday was Joe Biden didn't just perform well. He also won a number of states that Bernie Sanders had won in 2016. One of them was Oklahoma.
Right.
Another was Massachusetts, which is a neighboring state for Bernie Sanders, and Vermont. If Biden can win in Maine, and it looks like that's a possibility at that point, that will be 3 Sanders states in 2016 that he was able to pick off. I think if anything, that's a better omen for Joe Biden than just about anything else.
And maybe it's not just the winning, but how you won. Would you say that Biden's victories really, transcended geography, transcended race, and therefore they are in fact more significant victories?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. The one region where Biden has not performed so far is out west. Bernie Sanders is probably going to win the California primary. He won Utah and Colorado yesterday. He won Nevada a few weeks ago. So he has some strength in the western part of the country where we haven't seen a lot of primaries take place. At the same time, the kind of states that Joe Biden won on Super Tuesday, they were in the South. He showed some strength in the Midwest and the Northeast. It suggests that he has a better chance in the states that to come here. And there's not a whole lot of votes out west outside of California, Arizona. It's just not a big part of the U.S. population. So to the extent that the Super Tuesday results are going to be mirrored in these future states, and of course that's a big if because things can change very quickly, if Joe Biden can kind of keep the coalition that he had yesterday going for the rest of this race, it's going to be very difficult for Bernie Sanders to beat him.
Aaron, I've been checking the wires looking for any information on Elizabeth Warren. I know she's huddling with her aides, et cetera, today. She's got a big decision ahead of her. What do you think that's going to be?
Yeah, so her campaign says this morning that it's reevaluating its options. That's generally what you say when you're about to drop out. You usually don't let people know that you might drop out unless you're actually going to do it. It's a sign of not being totally in the race. It wouldn't be terribly surprised if she did. She lost, she finished 3rd place in her home state of Massachusetts yesterday. She lost her birth state, which was Oklahoma. She hasn't won a state yet. There is really no path to victory for her at this point. I don't know what the argument for her staying in this race is, other than maybe she just wants to have a voice. But certainly there is increasing pressure, especially among Bernie Sanders supporters, to get her out of this race because they think that her voters would go more for him than they would for Joe Biden, which I'm not sure that assumption is necessarily safe, but it certainly makes sense, at least from an ideological standpoint.
You know what? So much fun. Can you come back on the program when more of this unfolds?
I'll come back every day if you want me to.
Excellent. Aaron, great to have you on the show. Aaron Blake is a senior political reporter at the Washington Post.